So, late last week, South Australian Premier says, you know what, New Year's test was garbage in Sydney, so let's move things around and make sure Adelaide gets a crack at that test. Roll the tape.
In South Australia, we've got an amazing record of people turning out to sporting events. I think we had doubled the crowd at the Adelaide test that we saw in the Perth test. We often have bigger crowds than Sydney. And that's despite having a far smaller population. So South Australians are passionate about their sport. They love their cricket, myself included. So we stand ready to work with Cricket Australia to improve their product to more people around the country.
Okay, and then the New South Wales Premier says a 5-day washout test in Sydney is much better than a 5-day test in Adelaide because at the end of the day, you've spent 5 days in Adelaide. I've got a strong view on this. What's yours?
I mean, a bit of banter is always fun, but, you know, we're one of the only countries in the world that gets this petty about states. We're one country. Every state and city, in my opinion, has pros and cons. And it comes down to state of origin with coffee, with food. Like, it's just... And then when you have the politicians throwing it backwards and forwards, it makes me laugh. I love banter, but I get a little chuckle at how the state of origin we get with... It could be the weather, it could be coffee, it could be our parks, our beach, and it just gets exhausting to me. But I think Sydney's going to end up keeping it. It's the big city and it's tradition. But I'm also against somewhat breaking traditions. I'm not afraid of that. We had the first Christmas Day game in Australian sporting history with the Sydney Kings, which was heavily frowned upon by half the community because you shouldn't do it because it's tradition. Well, it's like, well, we gave it a crack and it worked out pretty well. But
Exactly.
I had a little laugh at it all, to be honest with you, Paul. I'm not taking it too seriously.
My thing, look, you know, I've never lived anywhere but this shit canning of places like Adelaide or something, like, come on. Like, the thing is, the reality about a lot of sport in Australia, right? And one day I'll be able to find out a way to tell everyone this story with detail. But every state government has got these things like Events New South Wales or Events Victoria, where they've got like a stack of cash about, you know, $500 million, right? And they pay for anything that basically happens in your state, right? It doesn't matter whether we're talking about, you know, motor racing, major events, whatever happens at theatre productions. Like, there's money into Mary Poppins I was looking at the other day. Of course, it's all commercial and confidence, so we can't possibly work it out. But the reality is that if Cricket Australia wanted to turn around and auction off the 5 tests, whoever wants Boxing Day, you pay us the most. Well, that's exactly what happened in Rugby League. That's exactly what happened in the A-League. That's what happens in the NFL. That's probably what will happen into the future, which is this won't be decided by governments up front. It'll be behind the scenes and it'll be who bids the most. All right, last one here, which is against...
And Paul, just real quick, not they pay, the citizens pay.
Yes, no.
Without a say, a lot of the time, as Victoria knows, you're big supporters of the Netball League right now.
Well, and also you can see when governments get it really wrong. Like, one of the reasons Peter Malinauskas was able to find a way to take out the marshmallow, the former South Australian Premier, was because he cancelled the supercars race. Now, I know that, you know, all the people that were sitting around divvying up the money, supercar, yuck, let's have electric cars and, you know, liturgical dance festivals, right? But guess what? A couple of 100,000 people quite liked going to the supercars, so surprise, surprise, they say, I'm willing to put my taxes in, I'm willing to pay for the arts festival, I'm fine for the, you know, the naked fire twirler who wants to do their bit in Rundle Mall, but can I please have my weekend where I get to watch all the broom brooms go round? So, Pat Cummins, he's absolute line in the sand. His views on climate change have not cost Cricket Australia a fossil fuel sponsor.
Whether they have or they haven't, who knows? But he was individually sponsored by them for a while, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Has he paid that money back yet?
Exactly.
I don't want to hear about it then, because you're a hypocrite. I mean, you know, I'm all for athletes getting sponsorships and promoting things that even they don't believe in sometimes. I'm going to be honest with you. I have before. I've had sponsors that wasn't a huge fan of kind of what I was promoting, but they gave me money to say it was great, right? But I then on the next day didn't say, don't use that product, it's hurting the environment. That's where the hypocrisy comes in. Donate that money back, Cummins, and then I'll listen to you.
The Rogues Bogues podcast, all of their sponsors, personally approved by Andrew. He's all good with them, as other ones here at Sky News. Thank you very much, great man. See you in a couple of weeks.